Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Friday. It's an amazing day. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. Today we're going to be making some cranberry orange muffins. Now, this is a little bit of a non-traditional recipe that I found. So rather than using like traditional ingredients like sugar, it actually uses honey and maple syrup and some Greek yogurt. And I think it's going to be really amazing. So we're going to start with our dry ingredients. Right here in this bowl, I have a cup of flour. And then we're going to do a half a teaspoon of baking powder. If I can get the container open. There we go. Now, the important thing about baking is that it's really a science. So you want to make sure that all of your measurements are really, really correct. Because if something goes wrong, it's usually because your measurements are off. So always make sure, what's really nice about most baking powders and sodas is that they're going to have like a leveler built in, which is very, very handy. And then we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Just that. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. Now, what made me think of cranberry orange muffins is cranberry and orange are both very good seasonal flavors for the winter time. It always makes me think of Christmas when I think cranberry orange. So I thought it would be a great first start to baking. All right, now that we've got our dry ingredients all measured out, I'm gonna mix them together with a whisk. A whisk is probably my second favorite kitchen tool. It's really handy just to have around for anything you need. I'm as extra as whisking together 2 eggs to make scrambled eggs. I use a whisk for everything. Okay, we've got our dry ingredients all measured out. Perfect. Now we're gonna go with our wet ingredients. So I have almost every wet ingredient pre-measured out just to make it a little bit easier. So we're gonna start with 1/3 cup of extra virgin olive oil. And then we have our honey, which honey is very viscous, so this might take a second. That's what our rubber spatula is for. It's also a very handy kitchen tool. Okay, there we are. There's our honey. And we're going to whisk this together as well. Just get it nice and mixed up. Honey is very viscous, so the oil is going to thin it out a little bit, make it a little bit easier to work with. And then we're going to go in with our egg. Now, another very important thing with eggs when you're baking is you're going to want to make sure that it's room temperature. It's a lot easier to mix everything together, and when the egg is cold, it's just not as good, and it doesn't mix together as well. So then we got 1 egg, and this recipe is going to yield you 6 muffins. Right, there's our egg. Now we're going to go in with some Greek yogurt, and Greek yogurt is actually one of my favorite ingredients of all time. So I usually use, it's plain Greek yogurt, and I almost always use whole milk. You can use 2% or whatever kind of Greek yogurt, it's up to you. But I always find that whole milk has a really rich and creamy texture to it, and it makes it a lot easier to be able to taste it, and it just gives it that good oomph. I really like it. And also Greek yogurt is very tangy too. And then time for our orange zest. Now this is zest from about a medium-sized orange. You want probably about 2 teaspoons of zest in there. We're gonna mix that up. And then our last step for our wet ingredients, you can either use a teaspoon of vanilla extract, or today I'm gonna use a teaspoon of maple syrup. Maple syrup is a little bit of a cheaper option, and it has the same effect. One of the things that I have gotten really good at is being able to sub out certain ingredients for other ones, because I am the kind of person that does things on a whim, and I just want to sometimes bake muffins. Sometimes I won't have exactly all the ingredients, so I've learned my way around how to sub out things. Okay, let's have a tablespoon. There we go, have a teaspoon. Whoa. was a little much. It's fine. We'll call that good. And we're gonna mix that together. All right, and now we're gonna add our dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. Now this recipe, it doesn't have to be lump-free like a lot of other ones. It'll come out just the same, and you just want to mix it up a little bit. Specifically, this recipe says use a big spoon. I prefer a rubber spatula. It's just easier to get all of the dry and wet ingredients really nicely incorporated with each other. And it's a lot easier to scrape the sides as well. Hi, LaJoy sisters. Got some great people in the cafe today. Man, that flour is giving me a little bit of a workout, but we're almost done. Okay. And our last but not least step, in fact, probably the most important step, if I do say so, is we're gonna add our cranberries. Now you can use dried if you want to. I will always use fresh just because it adds an extra layer of moisture into muffins, because you never want your muffins to be too cakey or too dry. And so these cranberries, it's about a cup of fresh cranberries, and you want to put it in the food processor for a couple seconds. You don't want them to be completely and totally minced down, but you don't want them to be whole either. So just a good mix. And you can always rough chop them too if you don't have a food processor. That's absolutely acceptable. Right, we're getting that nice cranberry color in there as well. Oh my goodness, it smells amazing. Right, and there we are. There is our batter for our cranberry orange muffins. I think I already mentioned, but this yields 6. You can double it to make 12. You can triple it to make 18, whatever you want. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of a Food Network switcheroo and show you guys the final product. So these are the cranberry orange muffins. I hope everybody enjoys these. I think they're gonna taste great and be amazing. So thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful Friday and have a happy holiday weekend.